Sa'isati. And he said, Shukach Adi. And I was like, Chatsu Shukach Adi. So I got all excited. So, and that's when you'd use Chishuku. Any other questions? In that case, I'd like to enter into negotiations with the classroom. Oh, you got one? Okay.
When you have the swastika, when you
It's going to be on the table right now. Okay. So I had in the midterm, and let's see, Salah, is there anybody hanging out with you in Whitehorse? Are you guys together? Okay. So I had in the syllabus that you would turn in words and you would be committed to memorizing those and reciting them. But I saw something in Anchorage this weekend that made me remember something that I wanted to do this semester that I forgot when I put the syllabus together. So I would like to enter into a negotiation with you guys and say, how would you feel about ditching the whole idea of memorizing a big, huge list of words and instead creating a biographical poster and telling us about it? And we'll give you till the end of October, and then we'll do that. So the last, we'll do that. I think the Clan conference is here. Anybody going to the Clan conference? Anybody coming into town for it? Was that a Okay. So we might.
When is that? Isn't that like the 28th?
Yeah, 30th? 2 weeks from now, right? Is that 2 weeks?
Yeah, the week of the 26th is 2 weeks. It's the Monday.
Okay, so let's try. If I gave you 3 weeks, which is lots of time, so it would have to be awesome, then I would like. Then we can do this. We're going to scrap the idea of memorizing, because I think when you get to intermediates, I don't think you should be memorizing. You should be memorizing things, but we're going to shift out of nouns and into more structure. So instead of doing lists of words, which I think is great for beginning Tlingit, I would rather have you be able to tell us something. And I saw this when I was in Hawaii with intermediate students there. So what I mean by a biographical poster is you will draw something and you will tell us who you are. For example, there was a young man who drew these 2 waterfalls, and he was explaining in Hawaiian, and we had a translator. But it was all in Hawaiian. There shouldn't be any English. And even if I don't expect it to be like this incredible string of Tlingits, although you should be pushing yourself and doing more than you know you can. You should be teaching, figuring out how to do a few things. And so one of the things, so he has these 2 waterfalls, and he was explaining, this represents the 2 sides of my family. I was born in Texas, and we went back and forth from Texas to Mexico. I grew up, Spanish was my first language, English was my second language. Then when I became an adult, it became known to me that my father was Hawaiian, and I never knew my father. So I wanted to come to Hawaii, and then I began studying Hawaiian, and now I want to teach languages. So it's this whole, it's more, I don't want an introduction. It's not an introduction, but it is you telling your own life story. Not your whole life story, but just this portion of it. And so a lot of the stories that I saw in Hawaii, and this isn't a test of your drawing skills or your storytelling skills, but you should be able to go for about 10 minutes or so, and I should be able to get an idea of kind of who you are, and your classmates should get that idea as well. That's my proposal. Anybody?
Would we
I'm in.
Okay.
would we be able to have notes or all memorized?
You can have notes. You can certainly have notes. You know, you wrote it yourself. You wouldn't just go find some awesome story, and then I'm like, this isn't you. I wouldn't think that would happen. And you know, we can certainly work on some ideas if over the next 3 weeks in class, if you're having things that you wish you knew how to say, we can either figure it out here, or I can work with some speakers that I usually work with, and we can figure out how to say it. Any other questions?
What was the size of the poster again?
What's that?
What was the size of the poster again?
Well, I would suggest that it's larger than letter size.
12 feet by 12 feet.
Yeah, you know, maybe, I don't know. I don't really have a
13 by
size
house
in mind.
screen.
Maybe
Yeah,
Part of the house screen.
whatever you're comfortable with. But you're gonna have to. So if you're in the room, we have to be able to see it. You're gonna put it up in front of the camera so that everybody can see it. Those of you online, you put yours up in front of the camera. So we'll really just kind of be looking at your poster and listening to you. And then I would highly encourage you guys to try to have a little bit of dialogue about these posters afterwards, and do so in the language. And so the key is to be able to communicate some stuff in the language, and a lot of this, you know, and I would like to see your life passions on display. I would really, and it doesn't have to be everything, right? I could tell you how much I like the show Longmire, but maybe that's not the most important to me. But it could be somewhat important. But there should be some things in there, maybe, and it's up to you. Some of these things could be biographical. Some of these things could be just sort of more like most of the presentations I saw in Hawaii, and I don't know what the prompt was. I didn't see the prompt. We just saw these presentations, and it was pretty amazing because it was all in Hawaii. And but most of the presentations I saw, they were focused on language and how the language sort of changed their perspective a little bit. But again, it doesn't necessarily have to be that. It could be what you want. Any other questions? Anybody not okay? I think it's cooler than lists of words myself. Okay. So we'll move on. We're going to talk about a couple of complicated things, and then we're going to come back and we're going to practice some of these complicated things. So Tlingit is a language full of rules, right? All languages are full of rules. Like English has lots of rules, and as a speaker of the language, you may not necessarily be able to articulate those exact rules. You know, for example, I was a tutor of the English language, which is plenty hard. Tlingit is hard, but English is hard. And a student who was English was her second language, and I was used to people showing me their essays, and I would look at their essays and give them feedback. And I was like, "Oh, you got a paper?" She's like, "No, I just have a question." I said, "All right, let's hear your question." She said, when do you use A or N, and when do you use nothing? Can anybody tell me that?
Are you saying like the box rather than a box? Like that
And then just
specific-
box.
Like if you're saying like box, you're talking about like boxes. Maybe like a box is a little bit more specific. Like, and then the box is like that box right there. Maybe.
Anybody else?
Sounds pretty close.
I just speak English. I don't
Yeah.
think about it too much.
Right, you know, right? You know, typically, right? And so, and what these articles are doing, they're specifying whether you're just saying whether it's specific or not, right? If I said put this in a box, I don't care what box, right? But if I say put this in the box, you had better put it in the right box because I'm sort of saying there is some certain box that goes into. But when people ask you to explain these things, sometimes, and this is why language. My friend and colleague, I like the way he described it. He's talking about grammar. We were teaching grammar, and this elder in Carcross, he said, "Cho'oya, cho'oya, achtakai kam achtuwu, yeah, cho'oya achtuwu kamlit, he's akaiwutin." It's as if my brain got tangled up in the seine net. Because, you know, we were getting ourselves really confused. We were talking about grammar, trying to teach these different rules of grammar, and sometimes it could seem like a lot. But if we just follow it up with the practical things, and one of my big recommendations for this class is we've got this beginning Tlingit workbook. We've been dabbling in it. We dabbled in this Raven story for a while. But on your own time, you should be really going through the beginning Tlingit workbook, and you should make sure if I put a picture up of any one of those nouns, you should be able to name it. Right? You should totally be able to do that. You should also be able to write it. Right? So those are some things you should be doing on your own. Because we're going to go through some of these and practice them now, coming through with different ways to modify them. So we're modifying nouns. But my friend Zeosh James Crippen, he said, describing grammar to someone is sort of like if you had to call somebody on the phone and explain how to walk, because they didn't, you know, and it would be a really weird situation, but if you had to tell somebody how to walk, it would be kind of hard, right? You'd be like, okay, well,
Walk.
right? Yeah, you just say walk, but they're like, I don't know how. Got all the parts, but I don't know how, right? So you'd say, okay, well, you kind of shift your weight to the one side, and then you push forward. You know, you'd have to really think, and that's what language pushes you to do, whether you're examining your own language, or you're examining a new language that you're learning, or you're examining just, you know, if you learn a second language, you tend to have to understand a lot of grammatical principles because they're often expressed differently in different languages. Okay. Shout out any questions if you got them. So when you put a suffix on in Tlingit, suffixes, you know, this is one thing we talked about how suffixes generally work. So what you have is if you have a suffix that is a single consonant, and if you have a suffix that it's not going to affect, it generally does not affect the end of the word. A suffix generally does not. The exception is if you have a short vowel, and a short vowel will tend to go long and low. So this is just one interesting thing. So if you have te, it becomes te ye. So it gets flattened and it gets longer. Other than that, the other ones don't generally change. And so we learn a couple of exceptions, and then we learn the rules. The other exception is words that end with the double A that we've been talking about: klita, una, dana, kuhida. What happens is that also goes short. And so that one goes short, whereas the single vowels go long, and then it tends to be low. Both that and the suffix tend to both be low. So we focus a lot in beginning Tlingit on vowel length and tone because we start to sort of mess around with them when we start to get more advanced with our language. And so one of the things, again, that we talked about is if a suffix is open, it will be the opposite of the tone before it. So you've got cheech, chi, right? So it's going to go up at the end and so the vowel itself has not changed within the word, but the vowel in the word, the final vowel, determines what the suffix will be. If a suffix is closed, it'll always be high. Okay? Everybody okay? So this is our chart of rules for possessive suffixes. I'm going to turn the spell check thing off. And there's a lot going on here, but really it comes down to this set of rules. And you could get it down to a note card size thing. I'll send this to you guys. And you can have, I put V there, and it could be long or it could be short, right? So we already talked about the exceptions. So not worrying about the exceptions. This is what we're going to look at. And we're going to focus on possession first, owning something, right? So you get this list of pronouns. Tlingit chinach wasadu sak mai. Ach. 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 Your. His or her. D. Our. Ha. Y'alls. Ye. Simon didn't say. There. Hastu. So these 6 you should know. You should just know. There's another one, ka, which is someone's or a person's, ut, which is something's, and then which is its. And they're a little bit different. Its and something's are a little bit different in Tlingit. And these are just ways to get into this sort of the indefinite sort of realm. A person's, something's, its. Okay? And the its, you're specifying that it's a third person, not a human. Right? So a lot of times you'd say duh, but then you would say for most of the time you're talking about animals. Unless it were an animal that was looking like a person to somebody, which happens. Okay? So coming over here, we have, somebody give me an open Tlingit word. So yanaka? Te. Te is open. There is not a consonant at the end. That means it is open. Hawaii is a language that does not like to have closed words. So if you introduce a word into Hawaiian, like if you said ton, and you taught them the word ton, and they incorporated that word into Hawaiian, it would probably become tana, or something. It would get a vowel on the end because it won't end with a consonant. Somebody give me a closed Tlingit word. Kook. Or kook. Kook. So there's the K on the end. Okay. So now you got open and closed, and this is going to tell you basically what's going to happen. If it's open, you're going to get either a Y or a W. You get a YI or a WU. Those are your two options. If it's closed, you're going to get an I or a U attached to the end. So you won't get the Y or the W. Right? So one of the things that has to happen is these have to appear because you couldn't say sa, like you need to have the sa ye. You need to be able to hear the suffix when it's on there. And that's what the Y and the W are doing. Now you have two options, either being an I or being a U, and it's just depending. Most words in Tlingit are not rounded. But if they are rounded, meaning rounded means they end with a W, like yak. There's a W there on the end. Nu. There's the W there on the end. So if there's a W, it's rounded. You just know it's rounded. In addition, if the final vowel is a U or a double O, And then any type of G, K, or X, underline, pinch, whatever, those will also be rounded. Okay? The last thing to keep in mind is that there will be voice changes. So a CH, when you add the vowel on the end, will become a J. K becomes a G. Underline K becomes an underline G. T becomes a D. TL becomes DL. TS becomes DZ. Any questions? Alright. The last thing is we have these, when we start thinking about suffixes in Tlingit, we start to introduce or continue to talk about, whatever, this concept of sort of the slot machine, right? So there's these certain slots where things might come up and there doesn't have to be anything there. But these two, K and X, live on the same wheel. So you cannot have both of them, right? And so the way that these suffixes work is you add them on there to make things, the K makes things small, or endeared, or cute, or any combination of those. That's why you have seek, yitk. If you're talking about your own children, you'd usually use those, achsik, achyitk, or if you're talking directly to them. And you see it also in chunk, usk. If you put the K on there, that means it's a little, you know, and this doesn't necessarily mean like it's young. But for example, this wouldn't necessarily be a puppy, cake, but maybe it's a chihuahua, right? Because it's just small, and it just doesn't do anything. Okay, and then there's the plural. So again, let's just practice these. We'll do them without the suffix. Cake.
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 So there's some similarity between those two sounds. And as far as in English, the rules are not the same as English. So in English, you would say, hey, look at that dog. Hey, look at those dogs. I have a dog. I have two dogs. So it pluralizes every single time that there's a plural, right? Tlingit doesn't really work like that. Tlingit, you would say, okay, look at that dog. Ah, the cake iteqan. If you said, look at those dogs, ah, we cake as iteqan. So you would pluralize that form. Cake ach jiwu. Cake ach jiwu. But you wouldn't pluralize it in that case if you're putting a number before it. Chinkat cake. You don't have to pluralize it. Okay. When you pluralize in Tlingit, it means you're just throwing it out there that there's plural without specifying, or you're saying there's too many to count. Right? And so that's slightly different, but that's how plurals would work in Tlingit. Then we're going to get into a couple tricky ones, but we should do this one. So if these two cannot exist at the same time, like you couldn't have cake, can't have that. It's awkward to say, but it's not because it's awkward. It's because they exist in the same area. There's suffix places, right? So what you get is you get this one, which is isani or usani, and you're going to hear this in a few different words. Right, and so there's some really fun words to know with this diminutive plural, and it's like a bunch of little cute things, right? Like cake isani might be a bunch of pugs, because somebody always has to have like 8 of them, right? You can't just have a pug. People have like 8 pugs.
They amount to one big dog.
Right, but I don't know if they're cute. I don't know if the cute part applies. Maybe if you like pugs. Okay. Some other words that this are built into that are good to know. And they have sort of a special kind of definition. Anyat kusani. Everybody say, Anyat kusani.
Anyat kusani.
Anyat kusani.
Anyat kusani.
Anyat kusani. Anybody tell me what that word means?
Most noble children of the land.
Yes, it's noble children of the land. It literally means little children of the land. But you're talking to the nobility. And the way it was explained to me, like the Anyut Kusani here would be the Wushkitan and the Chine di Yechtehitan. It would be the clans that live in that area. So it's a really good term to know if you're going to visit some community that you're not from. If you're from that community, you shouldn't really be saying, not necessarily, but maybe it could look like you're sort of bragging, but it is really a nice term to use when you're visiting somebody's land or referring to those people who are from the land. Okay? And it's also a way to just sort of talk somebody up and say, I know that you are a person of high status. Here's another one. Techisani. 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 Pebbles, right? Pebbles. And we'll do one more, and then we'll do these examples, and then we'll shift back to possessive. Okay. Atchakhisani. 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 Snacks, right? So some snacks, right? So they're fun. What's that?
Lunchable.
Guaquier, that might be a lunchable. But yeah, like, just grab some snacks, right? Grab some snacks for the road. All right, so here we go. We'll do all of this. Starting without a suffix, I didn't do that category. Cake. 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 Isani. Cake. Isani. Sashk. Sashk. Das so it sashk klekat enach.
Gopher?
Oh, you Islanders better know.
Gopher?
Yes, a gopher or a ground squirrel. We don't necessarily have them. We got more of the tree squirrels. I don't know what you call them. Are they tree squirrels? Red squirrels? What do you call them?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like kind of.
Kanastag, right?
Yeah.
And so you see, sashk, they have the endings are similar. Sashk and kanastag. Sashk.
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 Sashkhisani.
Sashkhisani.
Oh, hold on, let me fix this. It's incorrect. Das so it kachinach. Swan. So if you see a little one, if you see a few of them,
I don't want to ever see a little one.
it's like the most terrifying thing in Tlingit. Ah! And then if you see a bunch of little ones, Isani. 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 So those like crazy consonant combinations are pretty rare in Tlingit, but they do happen. It's one of my favorite sort of combinations. Along with this one is a place name near. Is that where Chilkoot Lake is? You're standing in Chilkoot Lake, and you look on the right-hand side. There's a mountain there. That's the name of that mountain. So on its own, it's Tlingit. That's the way they call it. Red snapper. Sometimes they call it a yellow eye or a rockfish. You see a little one. So you got to see how you do the rounded then unrounded thing. Okay, and then if you see a bunch of them, lle, lle, and a bunch of little ones, lle isani, isani. So these all have this I in between the plural marker and sani. It doesn't mean anything, just makes it easier to say. Because to say like sani, you would have to stop. But if you throw the peg vowel, it's called a peg vowel. If you throw it in there, then you get it's a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's easier to say.
Much easier. It's like no problem. Everybody okay? So we'll go back to here, starting with our list of, and some of these, I'll let you know if it's just too awkward to possess it, like southward. You can't own that, right? And then there's others where it might sound awkward, like nobody has a brown bear, maybe. But we're just going to do it just for a language exercise. So this is what. Let me think of how I want to do this. I think I know how I want to do this. Oh no, and so some of them, there's this thing called a relational suffix.
Do you own that thing again?
The relational suffix is the exact same suffix. So it's already on there, so you can't add another one. So you just say ach at da ye. And so you don't need it. You don't need it on there. Okay. So I would like us to each, so I gotta set this up. I should have set this up beforehand, but all right. So we got our pronouns. So wait, I probably need that. Let's change the font. This is a font called Brill. If any of you are into fonts, it is an excellent font for Tlingit. So we have ach. Oh, that's the right size. So we have ach, ha, I, yi, du, has, du. And then we've got this other category. Okay. X. X. So I'll keep this list on the side here. This is what I like to do. We'll all take turns, and whoever goes first will say ach at da ye, and whoever goes second will say ha at da ye, and whoever goes third will say I at da ye. Does that make sense? And we'll just go send this all the way around the room. We'll practice with all of these different nouns. If it needs any type of correction, I'll let you know. I should probably put this thing over here too. Let me fix this. A little small. But so those are the voice. If they have those endings, they will change to the voiced ending. I'm going to get rid of the vowel thing so you don't get. So then once someone has done hasdu, then the next person will do the plural, or the little, and then the person after that will do the plural, and then the person after that would do the plural diminutive, the little cute ones, like asksani, a bunch of little trees, cute. Okay. So atdayi, this one has the suffix on there. So before we start a new word, I'll let you guys know if there's anything we need to know about it. And we'll just see, I don't know how many we've got. It'll just sort of continue. What I see online, there are two on my left, and then I see Kawuch, Tuvushitsin Ku, White Horse, Quan Lin, and then Pashuk and Uchqanch. And we come back and there's two on the right. So this one has a suffix already, so we don't need to add a suffix to it. And we're not going to do these endings. I think instead you would just say, I don't know how you take care of it. At-dakhisani. I don't think you could do it. Anyways. You got ach. And this one.
Atai.
Adai.
Kubuch.
Ataye.
Tuvushitsin ku. Okay, we'll move along to White Horse.
I got lost on where we are.
Okay, so what we're doing is on the left here we've got a set of pronouns. And then you're using...
I didn't understand which one she said.
Oh, okay. She said it. So now we're on E.
Okay. Yi at dai.
Okay. And White Horse.
Atai.
Hastu ataye.
Okay. And then we'll skip down to Tus. Pashuk, you have Tus and pronoun is ach.
Aktas.
But then, so this one, now we have to add the suffix. Can anybody tell me what the possessed form would be?
No.
Achtasi. So it's going to have a long or a low vowel. Achtasi.
Aktasi.
Okay. Uchanch.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, sorry. It's kind of cut off for a second there. Let's see. Which one am I on?
Ha.
After tas.
Ha. Tussy.
Tas. Okay, I can see it. Okay. Tas.
Okay. Ha. Tussy.
Tas.
Okay.
Tussie. Tussie.
Dude, Tussie.
Tussie.
Okay. So now we're not going to do. We'll just do the possessive and the suffix. We're not going to do the other ones. Now what? Did you go? Okay. Kubuch. We've got a new noun. And we're starting with ach.
Ach shawadi.
Ah.
Hashawadi.
Okay.
Ishawadi.
Ah.
Yishawadi.
Pashuk.
Yishawadi.
We're on to du.
Oh, I didn't hear that last one. Sorry. Dushawadi.
Okay. Uchqanch.
Okay. Hastu shawat.
Shawati.
Shawat. Hastu shawat.
Yeah, it's got to get the possessive marker on there. Has to shawati. Okay, and we see that T changing to a D. And What pronoun do we have? Is that has to? Okay. Moving along.
Inland? Or
Dasa?
you were saying on like show what there's a high tone on the A, but when you add the ending, the A becomes a low tone and the ending is a high tone. Is that right?
No. So the way it works is the ending is going to be, if there's a consonant, it will be a single vowel. If there is an open ending here, we're going to get y. So it's going to be y. And the suffix, the possessive suffix, will always be the opposite tone of what comes before it. And it doesn't affect the tone of the word. The
Okay.
exception, though, is if it ends with a short vowel, it will push that short vowel long and low. So te will become te ye. That's the one that experiences a tone change. The rest, though, it just so you have shawat. So then, because the tone is high, your suffix is going to be low. Shawati.
Okay.
Okay. Chish.
I.
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Ha ye.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ye.
Yeah.
Yeah. What? Kubuch.
Do I?
Hastu ai.
Hastu ye. And you gotta just watch that tone, because if you were to say do ye, you're saying his or his thing, right? Just anything, right? And that's a good thing to know how to say, though, because you'd say ayi akwe, is this yours? And it could be anything. It could be a jacket. It could be a cup. Right? It's just a way to say a thing. We're not going to possess southward. This is impossible. But we will possess the rock.
Not if you're Columbus.
What if you're describing like a place, but they like southward?
So there are certain things like a place name.
Yeah.
You can't possess a place name.
Or no, like if that was part of place, would it be?
You can't possess a place name, though. Like you can't say do
Yeah.
right? You can't do that. But you could say
If it was,
hastu ani away hoot.
if it was
You could
built,
do that.
If it was built into a place name, would it
It's
be?
so it could be. It could like so you could say ich. I think there's a place called Ichati,
Okay.
South Island.
Okay.
And so you do get those relational, and it works exactly the same. But the ich is usually going to come before the noun. So then you're going to usually have a noun there as far as how place names get put together. And then place names, you could have that too, like Tan Khati. And you could translate that as the sea lion's island. Like that sea lion owns it. But it usually just means sea lion island. Like there are sea lions there. So sometimes it's just a relational, and it's the exact same suffix. But as we learn these things, you can't possess people's names. You can't possess clan names. It's proper nouns, right? And so I guess you could do it in English, right? It's my America, right? You could do that in English, right? This is
My Ireland.
right. But in Tlingit, you would then have a noun, because you could say, adu ani sawe ak wushkitan ka klinedi hastu ani aya ak. You wouldn't say hastu aku. Can't do that. And it's not like grammatically you can't do it, it's conceptually you can't do it. But then you just add more things and say, it's their land. Okay? Sheesh. Whose turn is it? I think we're in Whitehorse, yeah.
Achtei.
Achteye. So again, we see the short vowel here is short and high, so it's going to go long and low. And then the suffix will be the opposite. So it's just something you got to get used to, but you know, there's only a couple of exceptions.
Hatei.
Okay.
Excuse me, Lance.
Rasa?
Tei sounds high to me.
Teye. So if you'd say achteye would be that would be the high one. Achteye. Okay, guy?
Iteye.
Uchqanch.
Okay. Let's see. So I'm after ye, right?
Yeah.
Oh. So that would be sorry, it's cut off down the side. Do, right? Or
Ye.
oh, ye. Okay. Ye te ye.
Yeah, what? And so it's cut off. Here, let me try and drag it.
Okay.
Is that better?
Okay, I can see them now.
Okay. Okay.
Sheesh.
Du teye.
Okay.
Hastu teye.
Yitqaha.
Akset. Akseti.
Akhsedi.
Akseti. Sedi.
Kubuch.
Seidi.
Ye seidi.
Used.
Hastu seidi.
Okay. Yeah, so you see the T changing to a D. I think this has a relational suffix on there. I don't think you would say akhsheyi. I think you would just say akhsheyi. So that's what we're going to go with.
Achsheye.
Okay. White horse,
Ha.
you guys?
Oh, was that mirror then?
They went? Okay. Guk. Tuchranch.
Ha sheye.
She.
Or ha sheye.
Oh. Yeah, what?
You doc pronoun.
Ye.
Ye sheye. Ye sheye. Oh, du. I'm sorry. Du sheye. Hastu sheye.
Yitqaha kubuch.
Ach, tigitki yayi.
Akhtikitkiyayi. Okay.
Ha. Tikitkiyaye.
Tikitkiyayi.
Itikitkiai.
Okay.
Ye tikitkiyaye.
Pashuk.
Du digiyayi.
Okay. Tuchranch. You gotta unmute yourself. There you go.
Oh, there we go. Hastu digi yai.
Okay.
Hidi. 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 Hidi.
Kubuch.
Du hidi.
Hastu hidi.
So before we move on, like if you have a kinship term, you don't need any pronoun after the kinship term. Ach ish hiti. Ach kilku has hiti. Ach, yitki, hitti. You could, but you don't need it. Nobody's owning the storm. Huh?
Hit.
Yes, okay, so you can, so if we have hit, how would we say little house?
Hit.
Hit, chukan anikachwe hit, little house on the prairie? How would we say plural? Hit,
Okay. Darn.
and little houses. Hitkisani. How would I say your little house?
Hit.
Like
Do it.
a hitki,
Oh.
right? So then
Oh.
you can have the possessive. So if we think of these things as the areas, slot 1, we have this plural or small business. Slot 2, we have the possessive. So you can have them. To say my houses,
A hitki.
a hitki, right? My houses. Sorry, how would you say my houses? Or my little houses, sorry. I was right. Never mind. A hitkisani, right?
Monopoly.
Monopoly, kach. Okay, we'll do a few more, then we'll take a break.
Could you say ayawiti?
No, I don't think so. You could probably say "Chiyiku yauditi." Right? Like we heard about the storm. Storm coming. And then it was very small. Sorry, storm. I'm not trying to offend you. Okay. Bracelet. Atu it. Atu it. Atu it kohake. Guk.
Achkisi.
Achtisi.
Achkisi.
Okay. Ashuk.
Ikisi.
Okay. Utpunch.
Okay. Ye. Kisi.
Okay.
Kisi.
Okay.
Kisi.
Next one then.
Nukshiani.
Nukshiyani.
Nukshiani.
Hashukshiani.
Aw.
I always wanted to
Think.
Kuwuch.
That'd be so
Got
cool.
your own.
If you had a little one, is that what you would call your pet?
There's a Raven story, and she has, I think it's Raven's wife, and she has Nukshiyan. She has this little one, and she bites its ears to make it cry, because then she's like, oh, he's so hungry. And it's Susie James telling the story, and when she cries, it goes, and then they give her food, and then she eats the food, right? It's a really interesting story. Okay, whose turn? Who's owning the mink?
Kubuch.
Huh?
Kubuch.
Kubuch. I think we're on I.
Ikshiani.
Okay.
Ye Nukshiani.
Dunukshiani.
Hastu Nukshiani.
Uchpunch.
Achguti.
Oh yeah, Pashas. Uchpunch.
Okay.
Achguti.
Okay. Haguta. Ye.
Haguti.
Haguti. Oh, I
Oh, goody goody.
up there. Added the Y there.
Yeah, it's a T will become a D. Kecha.
Like, no,
Ikuti.
good. Ye goody. Ye goody.
Do.
Oh, do goody.
Huster goody. Huster clank goody.
Do goody. Do goody now. So wu shiai, we're not going to worry about that because it already has the relational on there, so there's nothing unusual. But we are going to do these ones because we're going to get into some rounded ones. So somebody tell me what this one would be.
Unaye. Ach, unaye.
Somebody spell it for me.
O-O-N-A-Y, high tone I.
It would be high-toned O-O-N-A-Y-I. There would be no tone at the end.
Oh, really?
So this is the second exception that you need to learn. If it's one of these words that ends with the ah, what'll happen is the vowel will go short, it'll get a Y-I, and the whole thing is flat. I don't know why that is. It's kind of an unusual exception. You just remember those two things. Short vowels go long, and then the double A goes to a single A. And we lose the opposite suffix rule. That's the way.
Why do the A's on Guna go short but not on Digitgiya?
Because Digitgiya is high and Digitgiya is, and it's kind of weird. Like it has to be the long and low ones, I think. Although there's certainly a little bit of, there's some more work that kind of needs to be done to double check this. We get the information from the Dauenhauers, who they're super reliable. But then there's all these different, because Digitgiya is probably a borrowed word, so it comes in as this whole word that you can't really alter a whole lot. Although Dana is also a borrowed word, but that one tends to follow the same rules, but it's probably because it goes low at the end. So if it's high, I think it would stay high and long. Although there are other ones, like we've got Tlagwa, Tlagwayi, Tlagwa, Tlagwayi. And I think it does that because sometimes two different words are made from the same sort of structure. And then if it goes high, it's got to maintain its sort of, it would become almost, although, you know, we get homonyms and other stuff anyways, and we get them in English, right? So if you say, hand me my bow, they're probably not going to hand you like your fella, right? They're probably going to hand you your bow for your bow and arrow, right? And so a lot of it is context, and with some of these suffix rules, and if you said like, Akhdana, I don't think people are going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, right? They'll just know. And so it's not a really big thing. But the bigger thing would be if you said, Hastu nu ye, then that would be kind of weird. Then you'd probably be corrected on that one. Say, Hastu nu wu, or nu wu. Okay. We'll do this page and we'll take a break. We'll finish this page. What?
Unayi.
Kuwuch.
Unayi.
A-I-E.
Unayi. Unayi.
Haste unayi.
Uchpunch.
Okay. So we're on the yeah, right? Yai.
Yayi.
Yai. My nephew said it better.
That is your guys' whale. You guys claim it.
Ach, ja, ye.
Ach, ja, ye.
Ach, ja, ye.
Ich ja. Du ja.
Cool.
Hast du Yai?
Okay. We're on to this guy. Tuwushitzin hu.
Ach ja.
Yoe ach ya wu.
Ja.
Ya wu.
Ja.
Okay. Pashuk.
Yi ya wu.
Okay. Uchanch.
Okay. Yi, ya, wu. Oop.
Do.
Um,
Do. Ya wu.
oh, I'm do. Oh, sorry. Do, ya, wu.
Okay.
Hast du ja.
Kecha. Finish quiche. Let's take a break. Come back in about 7 minutes or so.
Kune?
Casa.
For our presentations, what do we do about words where there are no words in Tlingit, like form line?
Like what?
Form line. Or have you guys come up with a set of
Oh, form line. We came up with some terms for like ovoid and we came up with words for all of the shapes. But form line, let me see if I can get a word for that for you. I've heard at, but I think that he was really just talking about there's something in there. So for the art itself, I don't think I've heard a term for just like form line arts or stuff like that. So, but I'll find one for you.
Sheesh.
Yeah, if you guys are encountering stuff where you can't find the word, let me know and I'll work with some elders here and come up with one. Or if you want to work with elders and come up with one, let me know. Get some hoon.
Gudach somewhere.
Full store. And
Gundahidi.
Gundahidi.
Oh. Gundahidi. Maybe, is it?
Probably, yeah, probably.
Did they fix that vending machine in the corner?
I don't know. Maybe.
Akunsa do klasa do Oreo.
Ah.
The klasa do? Yeah.
Like, I could have to mix it out with halfway. Sugar has changed.
Adobe Creative Cloud.
Uh,
How to work it.
oh, so we need to do a crash course. It's fun, but yeah, there's a little on the technical side. Okay, so we'll try and balance the grammar practice, which is something more fun, I guess, or maybe just different. I think grammar's fun. Let's see. So this is, I mentioned this story. It's kind of a complicated and rare story. It's called Raven and the Killer Whales, and there's this whole book that's coming out sometime next year, probably, that a gang of us have been working on. The Downhowers have worked on it for a long time, and then it got handed along to a team which includes Chet, Zeush, Akishawu, Kagwask, and those are the main sort of translators, and we work with Keishi, Shakshani, Kahwanish, Keuchne, Hakachat. I think those are the sort of main workers on the team. So I'll scroll through this, and then we'll listen to the audio. You can download the audio for this on tlingitlanguage.com, and I'll put the document, the story up there under handouts. We can talk about it afterwards. Let's see. I'll try to make it a little bigger. And she is a very fast Tlingit talker. You'll see some question marks on there because there's some things that we weren't sure on, but it's a very fun story. Here we go. Oh, hold on. I gotta change where the audio's going. And I gotta turn it up. Can you turn that up?
هو تكون تسنى تبي حسابات توجيهي كتبتم لها أسود تكب كيف واشتك ينسلوا طبعا أيضا كتبت على صالح وتذكر دوقة كتاب أقول خوي وسيم قد فشوا سفيرو في دقوقة أقاوسا أتوخا كنا أتوخا كنا أخوة سخاء وكيد أخوة بني وقود يمكن أن نقود وسيد وقود سينوان الوحشة سينوكا أقول شو تتسقى تبين قوات كنت بكستيج كنت قادر كنت تبين حتى شكل شاكرات كفاية حتى جينا تكون كبيرة كشاكرات وشمت لقايل يا حقا سكر حتى شيء وثيق تاي وكيد حتى شيء وثيق وياكو حتى تقشي شو ذا البساطة وثيق هو وشاب سيكون قوة البوتشي أنا وجه وقت كانت توجه في الشيشة والنقود ويوصل تلهم ويخوض وانا وياك الدنيا هو وسبشان تقول واحد حياتك عشان تتقى واسوى سفاهي واسوى حياتك واسوى يدكو هذا جوي تاي حاول تتقى وتاي وتاي يجي تعرفش تجي تعرفش سكرتي تعرف سكرتي تجي تدور شو هو تخلق لنا تجي تقول هو ده هو ده مش يعني شو جوا لنا تخلق تجي وقت تجي كده نقاش هو ده تجي تقول سوالي وتتذكر ويوصل فيش وتقاش واسو يساق إلى كواسا واسو يساق كان كتبت كيش شهر أتو تجيبن كني كيش كوكي كذا كخطي كان كتبت كيش شهر كان كتبت كيش لا كان كتبت كيش شيء يواتي كيش هو جاشا أقاك شو تقول كتبت كيش وستين كينكو ولا ويستهزئ وشوكي هذا أخوصكم ويقول أول ستها وعقيدتين غير بيتقوى الحال ولقد كنت بذكرها أول في الأخرى يتعقل بشد خوك أجاقل كأجاق أو تقطع أشي وسنقاج تعتوى أتيرتو دعوة وأحيو سنقاج نشتبه كجوه الجقنفو شيء متوقعكم تقاهي أشيكم بيعيو كجقا أخفتكم كوج هكذا يمكن تمشيون الأشياء والشيخ والأشياء يقال له خذ لنا يقول جاي قال له كذا ساعتين قال له كذا قال شان يقول له أيقول له يجي لنا شو قال كذا شان يقول لي هذا شان قال قال يقول ممكن تنوي قال له وشك أدور أقول كشوفه أخشى كذا بس كذا شو كذي أقول كذا كذا هل كنت تعيش هل كنت يوقف من جنبه Okay, yeah, that kind of thing. You change the question. And I think the cool. Yeah. Good carpet or like you cook or I have glory and a creature. Good carpet or like you cook or I have the carpet. When this way, I have able to get I stood there. So I can leave when it's coming to you. We'll keep it a shoot to feed.
There was an underlined N.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple things I gotta fix on here too. Like, kak is couldn't figure out what that was for a while. At least I couldn't. And then kak is a piece of really solid wood. I think at the core of certain trees, and that is what they used to make sometimes weapons out of, and they would make bows out of things as well.
Of what?
Huh?
Say that again?
Kak.
Gak.
It's a really hard chunk of wood. And that's what she kills her husband with. And this particular story does have underlined N's. There are two speakers that I know of, Susie James and my great-grandfather Bert Dennis, where they would pronounce a Tlingit N like a voiced L. So instead of ha'ani, they would say ha'ali. And it's almost universal because Dick Dowenhauer said when he met my great-grandpa, he referred to himself as Bud Dellis. And so he would do that in English as well. So it's sort of a speech impediment, I guess you would say. And so that it makes it a challenge when you're working with a speaker who speaks really fast. It's also very fun.
So instead of saying she would say a su goose.
No, that would just all those underlying N's would be just an N.
And okay.
A dishnugan. But she would say a dishlugu. There it is. And it's not all of it, because she'd say ayakayin, so there would be N's in there. There's a lot of L sounds in there. Any other thoughts on the story? I'll put this under our intermediate. You could download it under tlingitlanguage.com under this tab. I think it's called Raven Stories. It's down there pretty far. You'll see a whole chunk of Susie James, and I'll put the text up there. I gotta fix a couple of things.
There's a place.
Is there a certain way you need to download it? Because it plays just off the internet. I haven't figured out how to.
The audio?
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at it on his phone earlier, and there's no download icon from on the mobile.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh. Shoot. Okay.
Because I can look at it on here, and it's just a little arrow, right? But
Right. You might need a computer. I'm not sure.
There's a place, and I don't remember where it is, but it's Yesh Awatai Ye, and Tom Thornton didn't know, or he didn't try and translate it.
Oh, that's right over there.
Yeah, and
Place where Raven.
is it like got fat? Awatai.
Yeah.
I was-
Place where Raven got fat, which is unusual because he never gets
But then I was thinking in the story where Raven's eating all this fat and then he eats a killer whale. Like I was thinking of like that. Somebody doing
Oh,
that.
right.
Like,
Yeah, I
sort of
don't
like
know
that.
where this particular story, like some of the Raven stories, you know, like when he pulls the salmon house in, that's in Dry Bay.
Yeah.
His footprints are there. So some of them are very specific where they're located. Other ones, there's not a specific location. And this one, I don't know. This is the only version I know of this particular story, although Zeosh references another telling by Hadishan that was recorded by Swanton. Cascade is Chukanidi, and it was a wonderful, it was magnificent storytelling.
Was she? Remember she caught one time?
It's Chukanidi. As far as I know. Any other thoughts?
Some of these guys are a little bit too fast.
She is very, very fast. So I spent a lot of time working on her stories. It's very fun, very challenging. Okay. So let's keep going through this list here. We'll practice saying the word, and then I'll just give you a possessed form. So we'll move through these a little faster than the other ones.
So would she say, instead of new, would she say loo?
Probably, she would probably say Lou. And so it's something that you probably have to really examine her speech, and maybe because like Tan Ani would be Tal Ali. But I don't know if the fronts, if it starts with an N, maybe she would say it with an N. Yeah. I haven't studied it, but it would be something that you could if you wanted a larger sort of language project. It's always fun working with her stuff, but it is challenging because she is extremely fast. I don't think there's a faster Tlingit speaker out there than Susie James. Okay, so we'll just use du as our pronoun. That'll be our pronoun for all of these. And you should really know those pronouns so that you can start to use them. We'll look at some pronouns for verbs fairly soon. For Thursday, we'd like you guys to look at the chapter on direction and locational terms, which I think is chapter 7 or 8. It's after the modifying nouns section. So read that, and we'll talk about those on Thursday. And we'll wrap up by doing just some more modifying of these nouns. We'll also take another look at the adjectives, so we have a chance to practice those a couple of times. So everybody just repeat after me. E. Do e.
Do e.
Everybody's on in the rain. Nu.
Do
Do nu. Yana eight. Do yana eighty. Yak. Do yaku. Saknain. Do saknaini. Cheech. Do cheeji. So the CH to the J. Da. Do dayi. Gao. Do gawu. Heen. Do heeni. Janwu. Do janwuyi. Cocaine. Do kakani. Nusk. Do nusku. So KW to GU. Sog. Do soggy. K to G. Shaw. Do shaw ye.
Du Shaye.
Tia.
Tia.
Du tia ye.
Du Tia.
Short and low. Wasus.
Wasus.
Du wasusi.
Du Wasusi.
Yag.
Yag.
Du yage.
Du Yagi.
Seek.
Seek.
Du siki.
Du Siki.
Dana.
Dana.
Du dana ye.
Du Dani.
Kawut.
Kawut.
Du kawuti.
Du Kawudi.
Dis.
Dis.
Du disi.
Du Disi.
And there's this one version of Raven and his uncle where his uncle and I think his sister, they were referred to as Dis, which is really interesting, like they're moons. So these are really ancient stories. He would say, you Dis, this moon. Keshish,
Keshish.
du keshishi.
Du Keshishi.
On,
On.
du ane.
Du Ani.
Niche,
Niche.
du niji.
Du Niji.
Gish,
Gish.
du gishi.
Du Gishi.
Gun,
Gun.
du gunni.
Du Gani.
Cost,
Cost.
du costi.
Du Costi.
Shayet,
Shayet.
du shayeti.
Du Shayeti.
Keet,
Keet.
du kiti.
Du Kiti.
Ton,
Ton.
du tani.
Du Tani.
Yain,
Yain.
du yeni.
Du Yain.
Gooch,
Gooch.
du goochi.
Du Gucci.
Nadak,
Nadak.
du nadaku.
Du Nadaku.
Kushta,
Kushta.
du kushtayi.
Du Kushtai.
Douche,
Douche.
du douchi.
Du Dushi.
Kutia,
Kutia.
du kutiyayi.
Du Kutia.
Kanest,
Kanest.
du kanesti.
Du Kanesti.
Kahak.
Kahak.
You wouldn't, well, it would be weird. Du kahaku,
Du Kahaku.
because that could also mean his
Oh,
liver.
but then it's outside of their body, right?
Yeah, if you said du kaha, like if his liver was like sitting there.
You left your kahagu.
So usually you're not referring to somebody's liver, but that you could, or is it kidney? I think it's liver. But it could be if you were talking about something that happened to somebody and their liver
Oh, yeah.
got some kind of sickness
You
or
saw
something.
some sort of brutal accident. And
That could be, right?
Right, that's what they call that's your inside.
Kahak. Oh yeah, the yikati. Yeah. Shakiat.
Shakiat.
Shakiati.
Shakiati.
Naat.
Naat.
Naati.
Naati.
Jaji.
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 Rounding 5. Shao.
Sha.
Dishawu.
Dushawu.
Shayena.
Shayena.
Dushayenayi.
Dushayena.
Tawe.
Tawe.
Dutaweyi.
Dutawe.
Tina.
Tina.
Dutinayi.
Dutinai.
Yukaut.
Yukaut.
Du yukauti.
Yukauti.
Zaid.
Zaid.
Du zaidi.
Duzaidi.
Sa.
Sa.
Dutsayi.
Dusai.
Ankweyi.
Anquayi.
Du ankweyi.
Du anquayi.
Cheat.
Cheat.
Du cheati.
Duchidi.
Kincheyi.
Kincheyi.
I don't think you can possess that. Du kincheyi.
Dukincheyi.
Speak.
Seek.
Du tsigi.
Dutsigi.
Ta.
Ta.
Du tayi.
Dutaye.
We go long. and low. Tsatsi, do tsatsi, kwat, do kwati, zisk, do zisku, hoots, do hoodzi, khwasta, do khwastayi, gah, do gahu, So some time ago, we wrote down names and things that we had. We did that a long time ago. Weeks ago. Can anybody in here, looking at who's here and who's online, does anyone think they could name everybody in class?
Kayao, Sumit, Kuwuk, Tuwashitsu, Ku, Yanka, Ka, Adu something? Sisala, Ka.
Is that cheating? It's class. Or a group.
Is there anybody else who might want? No.
Just take
Pafluk, Tuchkan, Tuchfunch, Ichishkahadi, Nawaya, Kalkune.
Okay, let's go around and let's just do names. Khataya, Khone, Khone. What's that word did they spell? Yeah, or what? X, so it's an underline X, apostrophe, U-N-E-I. Itkua.
Gayo.
Gayo. What's that word did they spell? Can you figure that out now?
I think we were saying G underline G AAW AAY, sorry, AAYAW.
Gayo. Yeah, and a high tone on the first A, right? So underline G, high tone A, A-Y, A-A-W.
Sumit Ksai.
Just the name. Just the name.
Sumit.
Sumit. So do we give it, is it like, sound like an underline K, the Q?
I don't know. I don't think so.
No?
That's not how my dad says it. So
Okay.
I don't know. If you tried to like Tlingitize it.
Well, I know when you see a Q,
Oh, you could spell it.
you'd say
T-S.
Koyana or Koyana?
I don't know.
I don't know either. I thought a Q, though, was kind of guttural. But I forget now. Okay. No worries.
I thought it was a long pointy stick.
So S-U-M-I-Q.
I guess, yeah.
Okay. Itkoha. Uh-oh.
Kuwuk.
Kubuch. Wasa, what did they spell? Is it K? How do you spell it?
K-U-W, high tone U, underlined X.
Yeesh.
What was that?
K-U-W, high toned U, underline X. Okay.
Chuwu Latsin Hu. I have a hard time with the X. I don't know how to do that.
Okay. So we've got T-O-O-W, high-toned O.
O or U?
Next word is L-A-T-S-E-E-N. Next word, X apostrophe, high-toned O, O-W.
Is the first word, I thought it was T-O-O-W-U.
Yeah, T-O-O-W, high-toned U.
Okay, thank you.
Cheesh. White horse, Kuaha.
Yankahkwa.
Yankahkla. And how do you spell that? I think I had Y-A-N-K-A-A, is that right? Underline X. Next word.
Yahweh.
T-L, high-toned A-A. Yankahkla. Cheesh. K-A-A-X. That's what I had. K-A-A underline X.
I was hearing Yan.
Oh, Yankahkla.
Yan, just like one A. I don't know.
Sisala. Wasa would do this spell.
Yeah, I've always wanted to see this one spelled.
S, high-toned S-E-L-E.
One more time, sorry, I gotta mute my mic.
S, high-toned I, S-E-L-E.
Cheesh. And read wherever you are.
Yeah. I would go, see, P-A-A-L-U. What's like the best English K equivalent in Tlingit?
Just a K, regular K.
So P-A-A-L-U-K. And the /L in Inupiaq, I think, makes a really similar sound to the regular Tlingit L. So
right.
Be spelled with an L.
In Inupiaq, is Q, is that like an underline K sound?
Say the underline K for me.
Huh.
Probably similar. The regular K is like middle of your mouth, I think, like patluk, and then the Q is farther back in your throat. So if it was a Q, it'd be like patluk.
Okay. So would you be like
Tuk.
Inupiaq?
Right. So the Q is right. So Inupiaq. And like a verb ending, there's a tuk with a Q and a tuk with a K, and one is singular and one is dual.
It doesn't mean butt though, does it? Because that's a button.
No, and I'm still working on the distinction myself, so I'm not sure I'm making it super clear. If the Q comes from deeper and the K is farther up in your mouth.
Got it. Sheesh. Koyana.
Koyana. That's a Q. Koyana.
So yeah, it is. Sumit. I guess it would be an underline K if you were writing.
Nichishkahadi.
Nichishkahadi. Let's see, that is Neech. Next word, Y, high-toned E-I-L. Next word, SH space K-A-H, high-toned A-D-I.
Oh, Naweya.
Naweya. What's that? What do they spell?
N-A-A-W, high-tone E-I-Y-A-A.
Okay. So we will have a chance to work on these names. What we're going to do with each other's names, and I'll get my list of who has what, or we'll recreate it. But then we're going to start working on object pronouns. For example, I should be able to talk to Sumit and say, Oneyo khattu wasak, Sumik you idu wasak, Pashuk you do wasak. So we're going to work on those three conjugations. I am called, you are called, he or she is called. And then we should be able to ask questions about, I don't know why you would say it, but you could. Wasakhattu wasak. And then maybe you forget. Or maybe you're just testing somebody. But we're going to work on those, so we're just taking a look at object pronouns, and we'll have a couple other examples for object and subject pronouns and how they could change. We're kind of sticking with these same things, these sets of threes. Me, you, him or her, us, y'all, them. So we can get those in sets, because it's really one of the keys to being able to use language dynamically, is be able to talk about all these different groups of people.
What was the form for the past?
For the what?
Dusagan.
Dusagan. And that's a decessive verb. So when we say yay, or we just say yay dusagan, that would mean that person is not called that anymore, and the listener would usually interpret that as that person is deceased. You okay? Any questions? Atlan gonna cheese the cut you on. We shake out Tuesday Thursday. Uchaya.
Good afternoon.